Overtrading is not a mistake. It is a belief system. Most traders do not overtrade because they are careless. They overtrade because they believe that activity equals productivity. They believe that if they are not in a trade, they are missing something. And that belief quietly destroys accounts long before traders realize what is happening. The market does not reward activity. It rewards precision. Overtrading begins the moment a trader confuses motion with progress. Clicking buttons feels like doing work. Watching price move without being involved feels like being left behind. So the trader steps in, not because conditions are met, but because silence feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the enemy. The market spends most of its time doing nothing meaningful. It ranges, it consolidates, it creates noise, and within that noise, liquidity is harvested from impatient participants who mistake randomness for opportunity. This is where the enemy called overtrading is born. The first truth you must accept is this: the market does not offer opportunity at all times. That statement alone contradicts everything retail trading culture promotes. Screenshots of constant entries, social media traders always in positions, the illusion that professionals are always trading. That is false. Professionals spend more time waiting than executing. Their edge is not in frequency, it is in selectivity. Overtrading is what happens when a trader has no filter, when every candle looks tradable, when every pullback feels like an entry, when every session must produce a trade regardless of conditions. This leads to the first law of this series. If you need to trade, you are already wrong. Needing to trade means your decision making is driven by emotion, not condition. It means you are responding to internal pressure rather than external confirmation. The market senses desperation the same way sharks sense blood, and it feeds on it. Now, understand this clearly. Overtrading does not always look reckless. Sometimes it looks intelligent. It looks like scaling in. It looks like refining entries. It looks like taking small risks. But frequency itself is a form of risk. Every trade exposes you to execution error, spread, slippage, emotional fatigue, and decision decay. The more often you expose yourself, the more chances you give yourself to make mistakes. Professionals understand this. Retail traders ignore it. Overtrading is not about position size alone. You can overtrade with small lots. You can overtrade with tight stops. You can overtrade while convincing yourself you are being safe. Safety is not found in lot size. It is found in restraint, which brings us to the second truth. Not trading is a position. Most traders do not respect inactivity. They view it as weakness. But in reality, inactivity is discipline in its purest form. When conditions are unclear, the correct decision is to do nothing. When liquidity is being engineered and structure is incomplete, the correct decision is to wait. Waiting protects capital. Waiting protects clarity. Waiting protects confidence. Overtrading erodes all three. Every unnecessary trade chips away at emotional stability. Even small losses accumulate psychologically. After a series of minor losses, traders become reactive. They start forcing setups. They widen stops. They change rules mid-session, and then they blame the market. The market did nothing wrong. It simply provided noise. The trader chose to engage with it. This leads us to the third truth, one most traders never confront. Overtrading is usually boredom, not opportunity. Boredom is dangerous in trading. It creates restlessness. It pushes traders to seek stimulation. And the market is always ready to provide stimulation at a cost. When a trader's bored, they lower standards. They start seeing patterns that are not there. They convince themselves that something might happen. Might is not a trading plan. Professional traders do not trade possibilities. They trade confirmations. Overtrading is what happens when confirmation is replaced by anticipation. Anticipation feels smart. It feels early. It feeds the ego. But anticipation without confirmation is simply guessing with confidence. And confidence without structure is expensive. Now let's talk about the hidden cost of overtrading, which most traders never calculate. Every trade consumes decision energy. Decision energy is finite. The more decisions you make, the lower the quality of each subsequent decision. Overtrading accelerates fatigue. Fatigue leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to losses that feel confusing and unfair. This is why traders often say, I don't know what happened today. Everything just went wrong. Nothing went wrong. They were exhausted. Professional traders protect decision energy. They trade less so they can execute better when it matters. Retail traders burn decision energy early and have nothing left when the real opportunity appears. And this is the most painful part. Overtrading often causes traders to miss the best trades of the day. By the time the real setup forms, the trader is already down money, emotionally compromised, and hesitant. They either skip the best entry or manage it poorly, so they lose twice. Once from bad trades, once from missing good ones. Now understand this deeply. The market does not care how long you've waited. It does not reward patience retroactively. If you are not mentally fresh when opportunity arrives, patience means nothing. This brings us to the final truth of this chapter. Overtrading is a symptom, not the disease. The disease is lack of structure. Traders who overtrade usually do not have a clearly defined session model, a specific time window, a narrow set of setups, a maximum trade limit. Without these constraints, the mind fills the gap with impulse. Structure removes choice, and removing choice removes temptation. Professional traders do not rely on willpower. They rely on systems that prevent bad behavior. If your plan allows you to trade at any time, any setup, any condition, you are inviting overtrading, and the market will accept your invitation gladly. This chapter should leave you uncomfortable because discomfort signals truth. If you are honest with yourself, you already know where you overtrade. You know the moments you should have stayed out. You know the trades you took just to feel involved. Those trades are not harmless. They are the enemy in disguise, the psychology that fuels overtrading. Overtrading does not start on the chart. It starts in the mind. Most traders believe they overtrade because they lack discipline. That explanation is convenient, but it is incomplete. Discipline is not the root problem. Unresolved psychological pressure is. You do not overtrade randomly. You overtrade in specific emotional states. And until those states are understood and addressed, behavior will not change. The first psychological driver is fear, not fear of loss, fear of missing out. This leads us to the first core truth of this chapter. FOMO is not about money. It is about relevance. Traders fear being left behind. They fear that the market will move without them and prove they were not smart enough, fast enough, or bold enough. This fear is amplified by social media, signal groups, and screenshots of wins without context. FOMO convinces traders that opportunity is scarce, that if they do not act now, they will lose their chance. But opportunity in the market is abundant. Clarity is rare. Overtrading is what happens when traders choose activity over clarity. Now, understand this. FOMO does not always feel emotional. Sometimes it feels logical. The trader tells himself, price is moving, structure might break, I should get in early. That word should is dangerous. Should is expectation. Expectation is attachment. Attachment is emotional risk. Professionals do not trade what should happen. They trade what has happened. Overtrading is the refusal to wait for confirmation because waiting feels like weakness. The second psychological driver is validation. This brings us to another uncomfortable truth. Many traders trade to feel competent, not to make money. Every entry is a statement. I understand the market. When a trader is uncertain about their skill, they seek reassurance through frequent participation. More trades feel like more learning. More learning feels like progress. But repetition without feedback is not learning. It is reinforcement of bad habits. Overtrading gives the illusion of experience while delaying mastery. Professionals do not prove themselves to the market. They let the market prove their model over time. Now let's talk about control, which is the third psychological driver. Overtrading is often a response to uncertainty. When traders do not understand what the market is doing, they trade more, not less. This seems counterintuitive, but it makes sense psychologically. Action creates the illusion of control. Inaction exposes uncertainty. So instead of accepting that conditions are unclear, traders place trades to feel involved. This is not strategy, it is avoidance. Professionals accept uncertainty and step back. Amateurs try to control it through activity. The market punishes that instinct. Now we must address impatience, which is the fourth driver and one of the most destructive. Impatience is unacknowledged time pressure. Many traders believe they have unlimited time, but emotionally, they feel rushed. They want results now. They want proof now. They want consistency now. This internal pressure pushes them to compress outcomes. They try to force progress through frequency, but markets do not reward urgency. They reward alignment. Overtrading is impatience attempting to accelerate probability. It cannot. Probability unfolds at its own pace. This is why professional traders are patient, not because they are calm by nature, but because they understand mathematics. They know that edge expresses itself only through time and consistency. The fifth psychological driver is boredom. Boredom is rarely discussed, but it is lethal. A bored trader is a dangerous trader. When the market is slow, traders invent reasons to trade. They zoom into lower time frames, they reinterpret structure, they loosen criteria. Boredom lowers standards. Professionals treat boredom as a signal to step away. Amateurs treat it as a problem to solve. Now let's confront the most dangerous belief of all, which ties everything together. I'll just take a small trade. This phrase has destroyed more accounts than bad analysis ever has. Small trades taken frequently are not harmless. They normalize impulsive behavior. They train the brain to associate action with relief. Over time, this becomes addiction. Yes, overtrading is behavioral addiction. The brain receives dopamine from participation, not profitability. The market becomes stimulation, not a business. Professionals design systems to limit interaction. Amateurs seek constant engagement. One seeks clarity, the other seeks relief. This chapter should make one thing painfully clear. If you overtrade, it is not because you lack knowledge. It is because something inside you is uncomfortable with waiting. And until waiting becomes tolerable, discipline will always break under pressure. Most traders believe overtrading only affects their win rate. That belief is shallow. Overtrading does not just reduce profitability. It corrupts the entire statistical foundation of a trading system. You can have a legitimate edge, a tested model, and a clear understanding of market structure and still lose money consistently if you overtrade, because edge only exists under specific conditions. The moment you trade outside those conditions, you are no longer expressing your edge. You are diluting it. This is the first truth of this chapter. Edge is conditional, not universal. A setup works in one context and fails in another. A time window offers clarity, another offers noise. Liquidity behaves differently in different sessions. Overtrading ignores context. It assumes that if something worked once, it will work anywhere, anytime. That assumption is fatal. Professionals know exactly when not to trade. Amateurs only focus on when to trade. Now let's talk about expectancy, because this is where damage becomes mathematical. Expectancy is fragile. A small number of low-quality trades can erase the gains of multiple high-quality trades. Overtrading introduces these low-quality trades systematically, not occasionally, not accidentally, but repeatedly. Each marginal trade carries slightly worse odds, slightly poorer risk-reward, slightly higher emotional interference. One or two do not matter. 10 do. Over time, expectancy decays. This is why many traders say, my strategy used to work, but now it doesn't. The strategy did not stop working. The trader stopped respecting its boundaries. Now here is the brutal truth. Most traders never calculate. Overtrading increases variance without increasing edge. Variance is not your enemy when it is controlled. It becomes your enemy when it is amplified unnecessarily. Every extra trade adds variance, but if the trade does not add expectancy, it only increases randomness. This leads to deeper drawdowns, more emotional stress, and inconsistent equity curves. Professionals seek efficient exposure. Amateurs seek frequent exposure. Efficiency compounds, frequency exhausts. Now let's examine how overtrading destroys risk reward. When traders overtrade, they lower standards. They accept smaller targets. They tighten stops irrationally. They take trades where reward barely justifies risk. Over time, the average R multiple decreases. Even with a decent win rate, low R destroys growth. This is why some traders feel busy but broke. Now, let's talk about execution degradation. Overtrading reduces execution quality. Fatigue sets in. Reaction time slows. Hesitation increases. Impulsive entries creep in. Stops are placed poorly. These are not random mistakes. They are fatigue errors. Professional traders stop trading before fatigue appears. Amateurs push through it. And here is the most damaging effect of all. Overtrading trains you to disrespect your own rules. Every time you take a trade outside your plan and survive, you reinforce bad behavior. The brain learns that rules are optional. Eventually, when discipline is truly required, it is gone. This is why traders often say, I don't even know why I took that trade. And they do. They just normalized rule breaking. Now let's confront a painful reality. Overtrading hides the real reason you are losing. When you trade too much, it becomes impossible to diagnose problems. Losses blend together, patterns blur, feedback becomes noisy. You cannot improve what you cannot measure. Professionals trade less so they can analyze more accurately. They know exactly which trades are valid and which are mistakes. Amateurs flood their journals with noise and call it experience. This chapter should make one thing undeniable. Overtrading does not just cost money, it delays mastery. It keeps you stuck in a loop of activity without progress. And that is the true tragedy. Overtrading cannot be solved with motivation. It cannot be solved with reminders. It cannot be solved with promises to do better tomorrow. Overtrading is a structural problem, not a willpower problem. If your trading environment allows you to overtrade, you will overtrade, not because you are weak, but because the human brain seeks relief, stimulation, and certainty. The market provides all three at a cost. This final chapter is about building a framework so tight that overtrading becomes impossible. The first principle is this: you must restrict access to the market. Most traders give themselves unlimited access. Anytime, any session, any setup. That is not freedom. That is exposure. Professionals trade in narrow windows. They define when they are allowed to trade and, more importantly, when they are not. If your model is designed for specific sessions, those are the only times you participate. Outside of them, you do not analyze, you do not peek, you do not simulate trades in your head. Restriction creates clarity. The second principle is non-negotiable. You must limit the number of trades per session. This alone eliminates most overtrading. When a trader knows they only have 1 or 2 attempts per session, selectivity increases automatically. Standards rise. Patience improves. Unlimited attempts create recklessness. Limited attempts create respect. Professionals do not ask, can I trade this? They ask, is this worth one of my attempts? That question filters out noise instantly. The third principle addresses the emotional core of overtrading. You must redefine productivity. Productivity in trading is not measured by trades taken. It is measured by rules respected. A day with 0 trades and perfect discipline is a successful day. A day with 10 trades and broken rules is failure, regardless of profit. Until this definition changes, behavior will not. Now let's address journaling, but correctly. Most traders journal outcomes. Professionals journal decisions. You must record why you took the trade, why you did not take trades, what you felt before entry, whether the trade met all criteria. This reveals overtrading patterns quickly. The fourth principle is critical. You must make overtrading painful. Right now, overtrading is rewarding. It provides engagement and relief. That must be reversed. Professionals impose penalties, reducing size after rule violations, forcing timeouts, limiting future trades. Behavior changes when consequences are immediate. The fifth principle is subtle but powerful. You must accept that most days offer nothing. This is where most traders fail emotionally. They believe every day must produce profit. That belief creates pressure. Pressure creates impulse. Impulse creates overtrading. The market is not a salary. It is an opportunity stream. Some days offer clarity. Most days do not. Professionals wait for alignment. Amateurs demand action. Now understand this deeply. Eliminating overtrading will feel uncomfortable at first. Silence will feel wrong. Inactivity will feel like failure. Waiting will feel like fear. That is withdrawal. You are withdrawing from stimulation-based trading. Stay with it. On the other side of that discomfort is clarity, consistency, and control. This is the final truth. Overtrading is the enemy because it robs you of patience. And patience is the one resource the market always rewards. When you trade less, you see more. When you see more, you understand more. When you understand more, you act less but better. And that is how traders survive long enough to win.